Hello dear friends, I'm glad to welcome you to our channel. Today we are starting to sow bush petunias. As you know, the growing period from sowing to planting petunias in a flower bed takes about 2.5 to 3 months. So by sowing today, on the 1st of February, we will have ready plants in the second half of April, closer to the beginning of May. This is the best time to plant petunias in a flower bed. Of course, depending on your region, you can also plan accordingly, keeping in mind that it takes about 2.5 to 3 months to grow a fully developed petunia bush. We always use the row sowing method. We sow in rows, then lightly cover them with a thin layer of soil. Notice that you can see some of the seeds here and there. They're visible because the covering of petunia seeds is so shallow, as petunia is a fine seeded plant. Friends, the second sowing method is to spread the seeds on the surface and then press them gently into the soil. We used a wooden stick to mark the rows so that the seeds would be laid out evenly. We mark everything very finely and precisely. The soil we're using is pure Classman without any additives. The tray is very light when dry. The soil is moisture and air permeable, which is excellent for seed germination. Look, pay attention. The row spacing is 3 centimeters, and there's about 1 centimeter between seeds in a row. Soon after the seedlings emerge, we will be transplanting our young plants from here. So, we press the seeds in with the stick just enough so that the soil surrounds them on 3 sides, to prevent them from drying out. In our specific case, the tiny petunia seeds are carefully pelleted for easier handling. And of course, even a brief period of drying out before the seedlings emerge can cause the pellet to harden. And then it will be very difficult for the seed to break through the hardened shell, friends. That's why it's extremely important to always visually monitor that there is enough moisture in the tray until the seeds sprout. Even after the seeds have sprouted, we still visually check literally every day. We look at the moisture level and the temperature. After sowing like this, by the way, for sowing in a tray, friends, we use literally a 3 centimeter layer of this soil. You should get excellent seedlings, provided of course that you have good professional seeds. Good and thorough watering is the foundation of good uniform germination. The way we water now will determine how well our seeds sprout. So don't be stingy with the water. Classman soil is moisture retentive, so it will perfectly hold the necessary amount of moisture. After watering like this with a sprayer using an air-water mixture, cover the container either with glass or with a transparent polyethylene film. Why is it important for everything to be transparent? We might miss the moment when the seedlings emerge, and naturally, if it's dark, the seedlings will stretch out. The glass will let in the necessary amount of light, and at the initial stage the seeds won't stretch out, which is very important. Because the primary and most significant mistake many enthusiastic gardeners frequently make is allowing the delicate hypocotyl to excessively stretch, which invariably happens when we unfortunately do not provide our vulnerable young seedlings with an adequate amount of essential light at precisely the correct and optimal time for their healthy development. The container with the sown, thoroughly watered seeds covered with glass will now be placed in a mini greenhouse. At the moment, the temperature in our mini greenhouse is 24 degrees above zero. It is at this temperature that petunia seeds will germinate in about 3 days after sowing. Somewhere around February 4th, the 3rd or 4th, we expect the seedlings to appear. It is precisely on the 3rd or 4th that I will be checking several times a day to see how the germination process is going. And one more very important point, it is not advisable to sow different varieties or even different colors of the same variety series in the same container. Why? Because the germination times can differ significantly. Some petunias, some variety series will sprout first, while others may not appear yet. For the first ones, it will already be necessary to lower the temperature. But for the petunias that haven't sprouted yet, for those seeds, the temperature still needs to be kept at a fairly high level. And this difference in temperatures, friends, can harm either the seedlings that have already sprouted or those that haven't yet. That's why it's still better to sow only one petunia variety series per tray. With that, I'll end my video. I hope it was useful for you. If that's really the case, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I invite you to do so. All the best to you. Goodbye. See you next time.